I don't watch much television, but it seems like whenever I do, I find something interesting, something finds me. And a number of years ago, there was a show called Totally Hidden Video. It's kind of like Candid Camera. They play tricks on people. And there was one segment that was really interesting. They took a FedEx driver and they got his ID, and they'll do something with it, which I'll tell you about later. And they dispatched him to a fake temple. This was like a Hare Krishna kind of place that they had set up from the TV show with actors. And they had, 30, 40 people, disciples dressed up in gowns and all that. And when he arrived, they all start oohing and ahhing, and they start pranaming and bowing. Oh, we've been waiting for you. And they said, well, sorry, it's kind of a lot of traffic on the freeway. They said, no, you're the deliverer. I said, well, of course I am. Here's your package. They said, no. We think that you are the prophet. You are the one who has come to really save the world. What are you talking about? Well, many years ago, when our founder founded this sect, he foretold that there would be a great one coming. And we believe it is you. So why would you think that? And they take him in the back room and they open up this curtain and there's a life-size portrait of him, which they took from his ID, and the regalia of the outfit. We said, you're the guru. And they said, well, please give us some words of wisdom. And there's this big cushion in front of the ashram sanctuary. And he says, all right. So he sits down and he says, well, life is like a river. Everybody's going, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And he says, sometimes it's flowing rapidly, you just got to go with it. Sometimes it flows more slowly, you got to be patient. But if you're just hanging there, you're going to get to the ocean. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Okay, well, we got to go now. He takes off. Now, the cool thing was that they played the same trick on a number of different FedEx drivers, I'll say 3. And each one of them, when he sat down on the cushion, had something really profound to say. It was like a real guru. But everybody has a guru in them if you just put on the cushion, so to speak. In other words, each of us is seated with all the wisdom we ever wanted from any great spiritual master, but we think it's out there. And so we go searching for it high and low, to the Himalayas, to Sedona, to every place where we think there's wisdom. And all the while we carry it ourselves. The wisdom that we're seeking, we already own, but we've projected it onto external sources. The musk deer roams high and low to find the source of this beautiful heavenly aroma. And it doesn't realize that it's emanating from its own self. The wisdom that you seek is already within you. And I spent a long time searching. I studied with every guru and master, and I went to every conscience training. I bowed and gave my money away and took classes. And it was all interesting. I all learned something. And then in the mid-90s, I realized, hey, if I haven't found it out there by now, I'm not going to find it out there. So I started to look within. Now, I see this in my workshops. And in my seminars, I do a life coach training. It's a holistic training. And one of the rules is that the client is not allowed to say, I don't know. When you ask a client a question about their life or their choices, they can't say, I don't know. Well, the question is, if you did know, what would you know? Now, I had a dramatic demonstration of this in one of my seminars. A fellow stood up and he said, I don't know what my passion is. And I asked him, well, if you did know, what would it be? He said, well, I go skydiving, I take up guitar, I would ask a certain gal for a date. And the audience cracked up because he knew. He knew it anyway, but it was only when I acknowledged him as knowing and prodded him as knowing, that he was willing to take the flashlight off of me as the knower and the answerer and put it back on himself. So the word guru is spelled G-U-R-U. G, U-R-U. So a good guru reminds you G-R-U. Bad guru says, worship me. And the analogy I like is there are two kinds of gurus. One, where you're thirsty and you come to the guru and he sells you a bottle of water and says, if you need more, come back and I'll sell you some more. Good guru says, oh, well, let me show you where I got the water from. Let me take you to the river and you can have your own source. In other words, a true teacher, true therapist, healer, does not set up a dependency situation on the teacher or healer. The best teachers empower you to get your own answers. That everybody is an actor in the movie you have written. You are not the victim of the movie, you are the screenwriter of the movie. And if you don't like the movie, change the script. Another analogy is when you go to a movie, speaking of movies, if you don't like the movie, you would not charge the screen and start punching the screen. Let's say there's a nasty villain in the movie. You don't yell at the screen, you don't charge, you don't try to tear the screen down, because that screen is nothing more than the projection of a film that's being shown from the projection booth. It's useless to try to change the world at the level of the world. This is pure Course in Miracles now. The only way to change the world is to change your mind about the world. And there's this famous line from the Course that says, seek not to change the world, but choose instead to change your mind about the world. So it's really all the inner work. You know, outer work is fine, but only when it proceeds from the inner. Otherwise, you're just spinning in circles. You know, we have these false causations. Oh, my job is the source of my abundance, or my wife is the source of my love, and on and on. And it just doesn't work that way. You know, God is the only source. Now, God works through all kinds of wonderful channels, but God is the source. And that very God lives inside you. Once you realize that, everything changes.